Good morning, students. I hope you all learned the previous portions. Last class we learned the Unit 8 periodic classification of elements and also completed up to properties of groups. Today we can continue with the next topic, periodic trends in properties. What is periodic? Anything repeat after a regular interval of time, that is known as periodic. Days in a week, months in a year, and also our school timetable are periodic in nature. They are repeating after a regular interval. That like characters are known as periodic nature, that is periodicity. Like that, in our periodic table, some of the properties like atomic radius, ionic radius, electron affinity, electronegativity, ionization energy are repeating after a regular interval of time. So they are known as periodic properties. Let's see them. Atomic radius, ionic radius or ionic radii, ionization energy, electron affinity and electronegativity. Let's see what is atomic radius. Atomic radius is nothing but it is the size of an atom, that is atom size. Size of an atom is known as atomic radius. In the case of atoms, atomic radius, it is defined as the distance from the center of nucleus to the outermost shell containing electrons. For what is atomic radius means, it is the distance between center of the nucleus to the outermost shell containing electrons. That is atomic radius. Atomic radius can be referred according to the atoms bonding between them. They are metallic radius, and covalent radius. Atomic radius means the distance between center of the molecules or center of the nucleus and to the outermost shell containing valence electron. We know the valence electrons are present outermost shell, nucleus is present at the center of an atom, outermost shell containing electrons are known as valence electrons. The distance from the center to the outermost shell is known as atomic radius. Atomic radius are two types, they are referred in two ways, that is metallic radius and covalent radius. In the case of metals for we are using metallic radius, and in the case of non-metals we are using covalent radius. Metals and non-metals, last class we learned in our periodic table. Metals show some properties and non-metals do not exhibit that properties, that are non-metals. What is metallic radius means? Atomic radius in metal atoms are known as metallic radius. Covalent radius means atomic radius in non-metallic element. Atomic radius we can see in two ways, that are metallic radius and covalent radius. Let's see what is metallic radius. Metallic radius is defined as the half the distance between the center of the nucleus to the near having atoms, that is the distance between the center of the nucleus to the two atoms of a same, two metal atoms of a same lattice, that is metal atoms are arranging in a lattice like this. Here the distance from the adjacent two atoms, from the center of one atom to the next center of atom, this half the distance is from here to here is this much, half the distance is known as metallic radius. Metallic radius is defined as the half the distance between the two nuclei of the adjacent metals in a metal lattice. Here sodium metal lattice is here, the 186 is the half the distance between sodium metals in a metal lattice. Covalent radius means here half the distance between two adjacent non-metals of an element in a molecule. In the case of hydrogen molecule, two hydrogen atoms are there. Like these two hydrogen atoms are there, there is a force of attraction between them, so they form molecules. Here half the distance between two adjacent atoms of a or two atoms of a same molecule, here hydrogen molecule, same molecule is known as covalent radius. Here we study the atomic radius. This one is our new topic. Here atomic radius means the distance from the center of an atom to the valence shell containing electrons. From the center to valence shell containing electrons, up to that distance is known as atomic radius. Atomic radius is referred in two ways: metallic radius and non-metallic radius. Metallic radius is for metals, non-metallic radius is that is covalent radius, that is used for non-metals. What is metallic radius means? It is between half the distance between the adjacent atoms in a metal or adjacent atoms in a metal lattice is known as metallic radius. Non-metallic means in a covalent bond, the atoms are combining, sharing together to form molecules. There in ionic compound, that is metals, there giving of electrons takes place only forming the metals. So the adjacent atoms between them is the half distance is known as metallic radius. Here the covalent radius is the adjacent atoms in the same molecule, hydrogen inside the molecule only the covalent radius is formed. What is bond? We already learned in our 9th standard. Bond means the force of attraction between two atoms is known as bond. Here the two atoms are there. There is a force of attraction between them, that is known as bond. Bond is three ways we study. First one ionic bond, second one covalent bond, third one coordinate covalent bond. Ionic bond means from one atom to another atom, electrons are sharing, giving their electrons are transferring, means that is forming ionic bond. If electrons are sharing from one atom to another is covalent bond. Here ionic bond having metals possess ionic bond, that ionic bond forming metals only showing metallic radius. Non-metals, that is covalent bond formation taking place, non-metals showing covalent radii. See the periodic trends in atomic size in our periodic table. There is a gradation in their properties, that is from left to right the atomic size is decreasing. From top to bottom the atomic size is increasing. Why the atomic size is decreasing from left to right means, if they for lose electrons means their size is very small. There what happen means, there the shells are valence shells are not adding from left to right, so there is no extra valence shell there, so the nucleus can hold all the electrons together itself. That time the atom becomes shrink and the size become very small. So from left to right the atomic size is decreasing. In the case of top to bottom, the valence shells are increasing, number of valence shells are increasing, so size is also increasing. For increasing size, the nucleus can't hold all the electrons together itself, it is very difficult to hold all the electrons, so there is the size of atoms increase and there the atomic size is increasing. Next topic, ionic radii or ionic radius. Distance from the center of the nucleus of the ion up to the point where it exerts its influence on the electron cloud of the ion is known as ionic radii. Ionic radii means from the distance to where up to where it can exert its influence on electron cloud is present at the outermost shell, there up to where this ion can insert its influence, that is known as ionic radius. There here ions are forming. How ions are forming? Electrons are losing or gaining time. If it lose electron, neutral atom, for example sodium, we can say neutral atom. Here sodium atomic number is 11, electronic configuration we can write it 2, 8, 1. Last shell containing 1 electron. Here last shell 1 electron is there means it can't sit stable. So it lost the electrons. Electron losing time it form cation. So 1 electron loss that time it form Na plus. Here in the case of chlorine 17 is their atomic number. Their electron gaining there. Why electron gaining? We can write the electronic configuration 2, 8, 7. Their last shell containing 7 electrons. 1 get means it can stay stable. So it gain 1 electron to form Cl minus. That is known as anion. Cation means electron lost. Ions are known as cations. Electron gains means that is known as anion. Ion means a atom loss or gain electrons to form ions. But there are two types of ions are there, cation and anion. If electron loss means that is known as cation. If electrons gain means that is known as anion. Gains of electrons by neutral atoms form negatively charged ion. When neutral atoms lose electron it form positively charged cations. As in the case of atomic size, here also from left to right there is a decrease in ionic radii because their electron losing there. Electron loss means it form positive charge. Positive charge forming time the cation becomes smaller than that of the sodium atom. It becomes very smaller because what? The outer shell is losing there. That time the nucleus can hold other electrons together itself. That time the cation becomes smaller in size. So smaller size means the nucleus can hold all together, all the electrons together, and the radius is decreasing, size is decreasing. In the case of anion forming there from top to bottom, their extra valence shells are adding there. Adding means there the size is increasing for anion. So the nucleus can't hold all the valence shell electrons together itself. It is very difficult to hold all the electrons. So the size is increasing there in the case of anion. The size of cation and anion is important for their reaction in solutions and the formation of crystal shaped salts in their compounds or solid substances. Next, let's see what is ionization energy. The minimum energy required to remove an electron from a gaseous atom in its ground state to form a cation is known as ionization energy. Otherwise, it is known as ionization enthalpy measured in ionization energy is measured in kilojoule per mole. What is ionization energy means here the nucleus is present at the center of the atom. They are totally positively charged ions only present. That is known as nuclear charge. The electrons are revolving in particular orbit around the nucleus. From there the outermost shell containing 1 electron. Here 8 electrons are present. 8 electrons are present there means it becomes stable. Here want to release electrons means electron releasing time energy is needed. That energy is known as ionization energy. But for the removal of electrons there is a requirement of energy. That energy is known as ionization energy. Ionization energy means the energy required to remove the electrons from a neutral atom to form a cation is known as ionization energy. Consider sodium atom Na. Sodium atomic number 11. We can write the electronic configuration 2H1. We can draw the electron dot formula. Nucleus is present at the center. 2 electrons are at the first orbit. 2 electrons. Next 8 orbits. Second orbit contains 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are there. Next last shell containing 1 electron. This one is here. But this last one contains that is known as valence shell. Valence shell containing only 1 electron. This electron is here means this sodium cannot sit stable. So it combines with other non-metals to form compounds. So losing of electrons taking place there in the case of forming compounds. That time there is a need of energy. That energy is known as ionization energy. The minimum energy required to remove an electron from a gaseous atom in its neutral state is known as ionization energy. Neutral means here sodium atom, that is neutral. But here one electron loss means it to form Na plus, that is cation, to form a cation. From the neutral atom it to form a cation. There one electron is losing, so 1 plus. Here one electron losing time, there is a need of energy, that energy is known as ionization energy. Otherwise it is known as ionization enthalpy, measured in kilojoule per mole. Next, see the next periodic property, that is electron affinity. What is electron affinity means? The amount of energy released when a gaseous atom gains an electron to form anion. We now studied what we study. Electron loss means it to form cation. Electron gains means it to form anion. In the case of chlorine, there 17 are there. We can write the electronic configuration 2, 8, 7. Outermost shell containing 7 electrons. Here 8 get means it becomes stable. So it gain 1 electron from the nearby sodium. So that time it form anion. We can draw the structure. 2 electrons are here. Next shell containing 8 electrons. Next shell contains 7 electrons. So it gained 1 electron from nearby atom to form last shell containing 8 electrons, that time it form Cl minus. From the neutral atom to it form an anion. Minus charge getting time it is known as anion. So it form an anion, that time some amount of energy is releasing. 1 electron adding time energy is releasing. 1 electron removing time energy is adding. Here energy releasing process, that is known as electron affinity. Electron attracting time energy is releasing, that is known as electron affinity. It is also measured in kilojoule per mole. It is represented by the following equation. See here, an atom, gaseous state, A plus 1 electron getting time it form an anion, A minus electron getting, so it form a negative charge and also energy is releasing. Example chlorine. Chlorine, in the chlorine gas, 1 electron getting time it form a chlorine anion, Cl minus, plus energy is releasing. This is known as electron affinity, the amount of energy released when a gaseous atom gains an electron to form an anion is known as electron affinity. Next property, electronegativity. What is electronegativity? The measure the tendency of an atom to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself in a covalent bond. Covalent bond means electrons are sharing there. For example, hydrogen. Hydrogen atomic number 1, chlorine there atomic number 17. Here hydrogen 2 are electrons get means it becomes stable. Here electronic configuration 2, 8, 7. Here 1. Here 1 also get means hydrogen can sit stable. Here chlorine for 1 get means chlorine also can sit stable. Here the 7 electrons removing means very difficult. Here 1 electron remove means hydrogen can't exist. So there is a sharing of electrons taking place there. So it form a HCl. Their hydrogen share its 1 electron to chlorine. Chlorine contains 7 electrons in the outermost shell. From that 1 electron is sharing to hydrogen. They are not giving, only sharing taking place. Their covalent bonds are forming. Sharing of electrons taking time, covalent bonds are forming. Their sharing take place to form covalent bond. The tendency of an atom to attract, here the chlorine attract the hydrogen electron towards itself. Like that the hydrogen attracts an electron from chlorine towards itself. That tendency is known as electronegativity. The electronegativity means the tendency of an atom to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself in a covalent bond. Covalent bond means there is a force of attraction, that is only sharing of electrons, that is covalent bond. But here more affinity is for chlorine. Chlorine can attract more easily electrons. So if we split the air in solution, it forms H plus and Cl minus. Why Cl minus is forming? Chlorine have more electronegativity nature. Chlorine have the more tendency to attract the electrons towards itself. So chlorine forms Cl minus. Pauling scale is widely used to determine electronegativity. Let's see the electronegativity of some elements. Fluorine 4.0, chlorine 3.0, bromine 2.8, iodine 2.5, hydrogen 2.1, sodium 1, up to that ionic electronegativity are given here. This by using electronegativity only we can decide the nature of a bond, ionic bond or covalent bond. There are two types, commonly three types of bonds we study: ionic bond, covalent bond, coordinate covalent bond. In 9th standard we studied this one. Ionic bond means from one to another one, transfer of electrons from one atom to another atom. Transfer of electrons takes place means ionic bond is forming. Covalent bond means sharing of electrons. There two atoms are sharing. Coordinate covalent bond means both the atoms, here both the atoms are sharing. Coordinate covalent means one atom is donor, another one is receptor. That like bond forming means that is coordinate covalent bond. Here electronegativity decides the nature of bond forming there. So electronegativity of fluorine is 4, chlorine 3.0, bromine 2.8, iodine 2.5, hydrogen 2.1, sodium 1. Pauling scale is used to determine the electronegativity. This electronegativity, by using this electronegativity we can find the nature of bond. For sodium chloride, if the difference between the electronegativity is equal to 1.7 is, that is half covalent and half ionic nature. If the difference in electronegativity is 1.7, that is half covalent and half ionic. If greater than 1.7, that is ionic in nature. If less than 1.7 electronegativity, that is covalent in nature. See in the case of sodium chloride, sodium electronegativity 1, chlorine 3. The difference is equal to 2. So it is more than 1.7, so it is an ionic compound. Understand, we can find out if a compound is ionic or covalent. In the case of sodium chloride, electronegativity for sodium is 1, electronegativity for chlorine is 3. So difference in electronegativity 2. If difference in electronegativity is more than 1.7, it is ionic in nature. So sodium chloride is an ionic compound. Next, sodium bromide, NaBr. Sodium 1, bromine 2.8. The difference is 1.8. It is more than 1.7. Here this one also ionic in nature. In the case of sodium iodide, sodium 1, iodine 2.5. So the difference is 1.5, less than 1.7. So it is covalent in nature. Understand, we can, by using electronegativity, we can calculate if the bond is covalent or ionic. So electronegativity is used to find out the compound is covalent or ionic. What is electronegativity means? It is the measure of tendency of an atom to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself in a covalent bond. Today we study the periodic property like atomic radius, ionic radius, ionization energy, electron affinity and electronegativity. In periods, the atomic radius decreases because of the shrinking of nucleus. The atoms are shrinking because of the force of attraction of nucleus. In periods, the size is decreasing. In groups, valence shells are adding, so the size is increasing. Ionic radius also that, like size decreasing for cations. So from left to right, the ionic radius is decreasing. From top to bottom, the anions for valence shells are adding, so the ionic radius is increasing in groups. Ionization energy, here in groups it is increasing, in periods it is increasing, in groups it is decreasing. Electron affinity, that one in periods it is increasing, in groups decreasing. Electronegativity also, in periods it is increasing, in groups it is decreasing. Okay students, study the portions well. Have any doubt means you can ask me in WhatsApp, and stay home, stay safe. Thank you.